And here we are with the Leaky 383. This engine is matching to the car and I want to fix it. And I'm not giving up yet. I got one more thing up my sleeve and I hope it works. And right now I'm just going to remove the crankshaft and try to make a measurement which I've never done before.
Nick's Garage is supported by Atlas Equipment and K-Tool International. Welcome back to Nick's Garage. Over the last several weeks, Nick has been trying to solve the riddle of the Leaky 383. This engine was trouble long before it came to the shop, and the trouble didn't stop there. The engine's been on the dyno multiple times after multiple attempts to fix the leaky main seal. Today, the numbers matching MOPAR is back in the engine room as Nick tears it apart once more, hoping to find the solution.
Hi, I'm Nick and welcome to my shop. And yes, we're back here with that Leaky 383 engine that belongs to Kendall from Detroit. You know, we have a lot of history with this with the rear seals. Kendall has tried about 9-10 times replacing the seal in Detroit. I've done it 3 times. He's brought it here, put it back in his car. A moment was good. Then he put a few miles, started leaking again after I finished building it. So now he's brought it back and I told him I'm gonna help you try to fix that leak. I've tried all kinds of different seals. So did Kendall. I even went to a fast fish seal, you know, and it also leaked. I also had it positioned at a 12 o'clock position. We tried different aluminum retainers. I tried billet aluminum, and for whatever, it kept on leaking. And you know, we've always said it had something to do with the line bore. Maybe it's been cut too much. I'm not so sure. But you know, now we want to try something different. We want to try a rope seal, you know, because we've done all different kind of seals, Felpro, Chrysler, whatever, fast fish, different retainers, and never stopped leaking. So now for us to put a rope seal back into this, we have to get another crankshaft because this one, when we took it out the first time, the crank seemed to be knurled only 180 degrees on the journal. So we said, you know what, we're gonna do a nice finish on the crankshaft, which we did. We cut it down, filled it up with metal, and machined it down to the original diameter. And then we went with the Vitan seal. We did it, put it all together, and it kept on leaking.
It seems that no matter what Nick tried, old Drippy here kept pushing its oil out of the rear main seal. But Nick isn't about to give up.
We've just located another crankshaft from Richards at Universal Crankshaft. We located another crankshaft, another 383 crankshaft. So now we're going to get a balance to the specification, which we had this done before, and also cut down the journals on the mains and the rods at 20 and 20 so we could put it back in here. So what we have to do is we got to start removing the time machine cover, of course the water pump and so forth, to take out the crankshaft completely. Because when you do a line bore, what you're really doing, especially like this one here that I think has been cut too much, when you do a line bore, the crankshaft gets raised in the engine. So in other words, put more pressure on the upper half of the seal and less pressure on the lower seal. So it's not exactly centered. So what I'm trying to do is go to a rope seal, which might work, it might not work, I don't know. So we're running out of luck, so we gotta try something. What I wanna do is, I wanna measure to see the saddle where the line bore was cut compared to the depth of the seal. So I have another, not a 383 block, I have a 400 block, which is the same main bearing diameter as the 383. So what we gotta do is, I gotta take this crankshaft out, take it out of the block, and remove the main bearing, and make a measurement. And then from there, we're gonna go to the 400 block, which has never had a line bore done before, and see if we have a difference. What I'm looking for to see if the line bore was cut too much, raised a lot on the block, which of course compresses the seal on the upper half. So we'll start by removing this crankshaft and take some measurements and see what's going on. I've been reading a lot of comments on this that why don't we just get another block? But the question is, this block belongs to a nice 68 Charger. It is matching motor to the car, and I will not give up on it. So would Kendall. It comes from Detroit. It's an original car, and we want to make this thing work. So whatever it takes, we're going to do what we can. By the way, there's a lot of guys that make a lot of comments. Nick, what do you do to fix a leak? I've done a lot of engines, and 90% of the engines work. I've done Fast Fish seals. They work. I've done the Felpro Chrysler seals, they've worked, but on this block, I've tried everything and it did not work. So let's get another crankshaft, let's make a measurement, put a rope seal, and see how it goes. And then we're gonna put on the dyno for the 4th time before I deliver it. After all, I'm running out of ideas. This motor keeps leaking, we wanna keep the same block, of course, and we'll take it from there. We're going to start removing the strainer, then we're going to remove the harmonic balancer, water pump, timing chain cover, timing chain, all the main caps, and of course all the connector rods. And I'm going to remove the crankshaft without removing any pistons or cylinder heads. All I need to do is remove the spark plug so I can have the crank turn free. It's going to be a bit tricky, so you guys watch and see how it's done. Okay, we're going to start by removing the strainer. I also had the oil pan removed earlier, so to save some time. Does anybody want to know what a knurl looks like on a crankshaft? Let me give you guys an example. Right here. That is what I'm looking for on the other crankshaft of the 383 that we're going to receive in a few days. All right, I'm going to remove the harmonic balancer, put a pulley on it. And you guys, whenever you assemble an engine, when you put a harmonic balancer bolt on, always use Loctite. But with vibrations, you don't want the bolt to come off. And the next thing you know, you have a harmonic balancer coming off and going through your radiator. So on the bolt on the crankshaft, always use Loctite. All right, this is how you remove a harmonic balancer on a big block MOPAR, because it is press fit. So we take 2 long bolts, 5/16 coarse thread, like so. So let me just tighten the puller a bit. We got to remove the harmonic balancer. This is how it's done. I use 2 bolts at 180 degrees apart. There we go. And you put this like that. Use a 3/4 socket on my impact. There you go. So we got this off. We'll leave this down here. And now we're going to take off the water pump housing. I'll crack it loose because it's in front of the timing chain cover. Oh, this one's going to be a little bit tricky. I need to move a clamp. We just had the engine on the dynamometer, so I got to move a couple things over. Okay, get a 9/16 key. It's a bit tricky with the heater tube on it, but I'll get it. It might take a little bit longer, but it'll get done. I built this engine. It started leaking oil after a while. Let's put it in the car. And, I've asked Kendall, bring it back. And, I won't put it on the clock, but I want to fix it for him. And we're going to do our best. So we're going to end up changing the crankshaft. And hopefully it works with the rope seal. So let's see how it goes. There's times where you have to swallow the cost because, I want to deliver something perfect. And, I wasn't happy. When he told me he got home and it started leaking after a while, I wasn't comfortable with it. And I asked Kendall if he could bring the car or remove the engine from the car, bring you the one, I'll do it for you. Brought it here, and here we are. So let's get it done and hopefully it works. this issue with the oil leaking at the rear seal has been on for a long time with this car. He had the engine built in Detroit by somebody, and it leaked very bad. And they tried to do all kinds of repairs and never got accomplished. Then he did so many seals on his own, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9. At that time, he gave up. He brought the engine here last year. Not only did we put it on the dyno, found a major oil leak at the rear seal, he didn't even have the horsepower or the torque reading. So we also rebuilt the engine for him. But one thing I did not do was the line bore. And I still think the line bore is causing all the problems here with the oil leak at the rear seal. Is it? I don't know. I'm gonna make a measurement here for the first time and we see what we have. And now, let's take off the timing cover. What a shame we have to buy all new gaskets again. No big deal. Question is, let's get it done. I've done a lot of big block MOPARs in my life. Doing a line bore on a big block MOPAR is very, very rare with me because in many cases, there's no issues.
So as Nick tears apart an engine he's only just built, he can't help but wonder if all this trouble was caused by earlier modifications that were never even required.
It's good once in a while when you have power tools. I'm not used to them, but you know what? They come in handy sometimes.
But Nick tries to keep a positive attitude, even as he undoes recent work meant to last for years.
Yeah, and you know, I put a very, very thin layer of silicone on the timing chain cover with the gasket because, you know, when a timing cover gets old, it's wobbly. So the gasket alone will not do the job. So what I do is I put a very thin layer of silicone here. Not like a slob, a whole bunch of it. Just a bit. And it does the job. So I'm just going to crack it loose. Like so. Okay. Actually, put it like this. There we go. And now let's take off the oil cylinder. Oh wow, this one's jammed here. Oh, what's that? I've never seen this before. Oh, there we go. Then we need a 5/8 wrench. Take off the timing chain. And when you have a camshaft that holds this sprocket with one bolt, like in this issue, you always, again, like I said, always use Loctite, like I have used over here. If you see it, it's a struggle to get it loose, and then with the vibration, it won't come off. So to be on the safe side, use Loctite. Yeah, like you do a beautiful clean job in the front end, you know, and there's no leaks whatsoever in the front of the engine. You know, it's sad. You did a good job, nothing leaks except for the rear seal, and now I'm tearing apart half the engine just to replace the crankshaft for the reason of a rear seal, only because it has an oil leak. So now I got to turn over the engine, crank it over. I got to remove the spark plugs to release the compression, cylinder pressure, so I can turn the crank free, so I can remove all the connector rod caps without removing any pistons and slide up the crankshaft. And like I said earlier, we went back to a exhaust manifolds, no more headers. Make it a lot easier for installation because Kendall, after so many years working with the car, he got fed up with the headers and he noticed that a lot of guys are going back to exhaust manifolds, and that is the reason we have manifolds on. They belong to that car, and we went back with the same manifolds. And it makes his job installing the engine in the car a lot easier. Okay, We got our 8 spark plugs out. Let's start working on the crankshaft. I'm going to put boots on the connecting rod bolts so we don't scratch the crank as we remove it. Let's put these boots on, like so. There you go. Okay. We're going to do this to all 8. And one thing that's very, very important is that you never mix the caps with the connector rod. Here, for example, this is number 8. Number 8. We had all the rods removed and we had them re-stamped. If you take a good look here, you got a number 8. Just to be on the safe side, because if they were re-stamped, I'm going to mark them myself because all the connector rods were resized. So for that reason, we're going to start from the back and go forward. So this is cylinder number 8. So this is what we do. And just put it over here with the bearing, and that's it. Here we are, putting something back. All this work just for a rear seal. And I'm sure the block is not damaged. I'm sure it's the seal. And you know what? We're going to find out after we put that rope seal. It's not possible that it's going to leak every time. But you know what? I don't know. Let's do our best. We got one chance with the rope seal. Let's go for it. Now this is very, very rare that I remove a crankshaft for whatever reason without removing any pistons. I'm just want to replace the crankshaft. Let's do it. We got no choice. Got to find a way to make this leak stop. You know, I've got other engines to build right now, and I'm still working on this seal job here. And it's also an experience. You know, if we can fix this, maybe I'll answer this to a lot of people that have the same issue. Who knows? So you know what? Maybe if we fix it with the rope seal, maybe that's the way to go. You know, we're gonna need these boots. You know why? When we reinstall the other crankshaft, we're gonna need these plastic boots on the connector rod bolts because they're threaded. And as we lower it, we don't want to scratch the other crank that we're gonna get. So for that reason, we need these, and they're gonna stay on until we bolt in the other crank. Okay, let's take off the main caps. Here we go. The main caps are already numbered from the factory, 1 to 5, so we don't have to worry about it. When you do a line bore, the main caps, the saddle, this is cut. And when this is cut, you have to put the caps back on and re-drill it. So what you do is you're also removing material from the block where the bearing saddle sits, and of course where the bearing sits on the saddle. So when you drill it, the crank goes further up into the block. And that is the reason why I say that the upper half of the seal gets compressed more. And if you take a good look, that the seal has a very small lip. And maybe it's not compressing a lot on the bottom. That's where the oil is from. I'm not sure. So we're gonna make a simple measurement in a few minutes, and hopefully I see something. Between Kendall and I've gone 3 seals on this. None of them were rope seal. Kendall's done quite a few, and I think he's done 8 or 9 seals, I'm not sure. None of them were rope seal. And here we are today, we're gonna try for the first time. And hopefully it does the job. I'm gonna pull out the crank and then stand it on the table. And I wanna make a measurement, and I've never done before. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but I gotta try something because we have run out of luck with the other seals. Okay, here we go. There we go. Nicely balanced, nicely cut. All gone to waste. All right, here we go. Here's the measurement I want to make. This is the saddle where the bearing sits. If you guys could see beautiful, shiny cut metal, that's a line bore. And now this is what I want to show you guys. When you cut this, where the seal sits right here in this groove, it's not touched. So the seal sits exactly where it was before. So no matter how much line bore, how much you cut, the seal stays in the same place. It never changes, except the crank gets raised in the block. So I've got another block in the shop, which is a 400. It's got the same diameter journal as a 383. So I don't have another 383 block. I'm gonna use the 400 to make a measurement between right here and the bottom of the groove where the seal sits. So between the saddle, where the line bore was done on this 383, to the bottom part of the groove where the seal sits. Do not forget, this gets cut, the crank gets raised, the seal does not move. So what you're doing is, here's the seal, here's the crank. You're dropping the crank, which is raising in the block, and the seal sits there. So you're compressing the rear seal on the top half, and on the bottom half, you're not compressing it at all. So maybe that's the problem. So this is where I have to make my measurement between this block and another block that's not being touched at all, no line bores, to take a measurement. But I'm just taking a fast look. I'm just gonna take because we are gonna go with a rope seal no matter what. So I got another crank with a nail coming here, and I just wanna make a fast check on a measurement, which I've never done before, just to see what we got. I just wanna do something. Maybe it's not right, maybe it's not correct, maybe I don't have the right tools. It doesn't matter. My job is to clean this and then make a measurement. Okay. Get the razor blade, clean the surface.
When facing a persistent problem like the leaky 383, Nick knows to think outside of the box. Like trying new measurements and looking for answers wherever they can be found.
Let's make sure no debris goes inside the block. So I gotta make a nice clean cut here. So we're gonna make a measurement from where the oil pan rail sits to the deepest point where the seal sits on the block. So I'm gonna make a measurement right now, and let's see what we got. Here we go. Let me see, this is not, I've never done this before. And I'm gonna set it up at exactly 6 o'clock, dead center. I'm gonna put it at 6 o'clock at the deepest point of the groove. Like so. Yeah, that's the deepest point. Wait, gotta zero it in. That's the deepest point of the groove. Now we're gonna go on the saddle where the bearing sits, and I want to see the difference. And we're gonna compare this to the other block I have that's not tampered with at all. So let me see if I can figure out a number right here. I got 0 right now. Then we're gonna take it off. And there we go. Then I look at the deepest part on this. Right there. So we're looking at about 15 thou. Now, is that the way to measure it? I'm not so sure. Let's go take a look at the other one. Ready? Let's go. It's right over here on the shop. And here I've got a 400, which is the same journal size as a 383. And if you guys take a good look, I believe this block is untampered with, and it's got a rope seal. And I believe this is right from the factory. And I can see nothing was machined on this block. So I'm going to use this as a guide. So let me clean the rails. Now let me remove the seal, like so. This is a rope seal, you guys. As you can see, it's been there for a while. It's falling apart. And a rope seal gets it to shape after you put it in place. You push it down into its groove, and of course it's going to be a lot taller than a Viton seal. And then when you put the crank in, it gets compressed. Then it stays wherever it's compressed. So let's remove the rope seal that we got here. Also an indication that this thing's original. Let me just clean where but I got to make sure it's super clean. Okay, we're ready. Here we go. Wow. Okay, there's our 0. That's our deepest spot. Okay, and now let's go on the saddle. Here we go. We zeroed it in. There. We got 10 thou. So that one there, we had a gauge reading of 15 thou versus 10 thou. This one is not being cut, this is not being line bored, and I have a difference of 5 thou. So in other words, the crank is raised on the other block by 5 thou of an inch. Would that make a difference on the seal? I'm not so sure. So, and there we have it. You know, I've never done these measurements before. I know that the seal always sits in the same place. You know, the block might vary from one year to another, or maybe a little bit from a 400 to a 333. But you know what? They all have the same part number, the same parts number for the seal. So this line bore, from what I see, has been cut 5 thou on the saddle. So we're compressing the seal by 5 thou. Would that be enough to make it leak oil? I'm not so sure. But one way to find out, let's put this in and see how it goes. I'm going to try the rope seal. I'm running out of ideas with this, and I hope it works. Or maybe it's leaking somewhere else. But apparently at the shop where they checked the block where we had to bore it out, we took a good look at it. We didn't see any cracks whatsoever in the back of the block. The cord plug was not leaking, the 2 oil gallery plugs were not leaking. So it's hard to say. So you know what? After all this has been done, let's try that rope seal, put it back in the dyno, and see what goes on. If it leaks, then we have an issue. If it doesn't leak, well, we solved the problem.
Solving problems. That's pretty much Nick's job description. And once the problems have been solved, Nick can return these beautiful cars to the customers so they can enjoy them and remember days gone by. After solving many problems for this gorgeous Roadrunner, Nick is shipping it all the way to Australia, where Theo will be enjoying it, hopefully for years to come.
And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. And help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.